president of this academy, Dr. Rosandich, who will in turn introduce a very good friend of mine, Dr. Rosandich.
Thank you, Barry. On behalf of the Academy, I am very pleased to welcome all of you to this very special event, the Art Clinic, which is a part of the Academy Awards of Sport. In a way of a prelude, we in America live in what is called the Western civilization. Our foundings are from Europe, Greece. The whole movement of the Olympiad had its birth in Greece. Unknown to most people, the Olympic Games had two major parts. One were the arts themselves, and the second part was the sport. It is the theme of our Academy Awards of Sport. The program is called A Tribute to the Artist, Hans Erni in this case, and to the athletes. In this building today are the second side of the Olympic Games, many of the most famous athletes in our nation's history. But none more famous or more acclaimed than Hans Erni, who is here as our guest as the artist from Switzerland. He is going to talk to you in the way that artists should, and that will be at the easel. This man is like most of the Europeans, speaks many languages. But I think the language of art is probably the most prevalent and the most dominant. In the way of housekeeping, before I finish, after this we will see some other artists and some other artwork, but let me tell you just a little bit about Hans Erni. He is 80 years old. Don't you all wish, or we all wish that we looked like that when we were 80? This is his birthday, and if we do nothing else today, at the end of the day, we're going to show them what America is all about and what the South is all about, and we're going to sing this man a rousing happy birthday, but we'll do that at the end of the program. Hans is a world-acclaimed artist. He brings together what is realism with the mythology of Greek culture. You're going to see him do some things here today that rest right upon your doorstep, particularly here in Daphne. And I think without that, Hans, the program is yours, and welcome to America, welcome to Daphne, and welcome to the Academy. Thank you.
I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for the introduction by Raymond Burr and by Dr. Rosandich. But as I'm not a speaker but a painter, so I try not to speak much, but to show you perhaps what's going through a painter's head, and I try to show you how the interpretation of ideas coming from observation of nature transformed into mythology is just the fact what the painter has to do. So I think you have heard by the introduction that I'm coming from Europe, and so I try to start with Europe, and you know a bit of mythology. So even Europe started somewhere with the rape of Europe by a bull. So I try
just to start with the idea of that pool. Just from the east that the bull stole Europe and brought her to Crete. And in Crete there was just a whole mass of wolves.
Sorry.
And so the queen of Crete was in love with the bull and just created Minotauros. That's half a bull, half man. So I try to show you how Minotauros is looking in the eye of a pen. Half man, half bull. So the king of Crete was not very happy of this fellow, and so he put him into a labyrinth. You know the idea of a labyrinth. He made Daedalus, the architect, built the labyrinth. A wonderful edifice architecturally. You may imagine this building, this academy, just parallel to that labyrinth. And he enclosed there this Minotauros. So I try to show my idea of a labyrinth. You see, the labyrinth, as an artist, has the freedom to imagine as he likes the labyrinth. I have chosen a human cell, the most modern conception of a human cell, with the noyau in the middle, as the labyrinth, because as well, the human cell is not, we don't know how it functions, but we try to elaborate it and to know at last at that time. And because of all these sacrifices, they tried to put to death Minotauros. So Theseus came to Crete and liberated and put to death Minotauros, and by that the architects were punished or wanted to be punished by their king Minos. But the architect was himself put to jail inside this labyrinth. So they tried, as you know, Icar and Daedalus. Daedalus was the architect. They tried to flee. So he, Daedalus, made wings to Icarus. Tries to show Icar. Icarus was warned by his father not to go too far, too near the sun, because the sun could melt the parasite in which he stuck all the feathers for the wings. And so the father, when fleeing from that labyrinth, the father landed very safely, but the young chap, Icar, he was so happy that he flew higher and higher. He flew towards the sun, and the sun started to melt the feathers, and he fell dead into the sea. So I think all the myths are growing out of life, of real life. So in every myth you should feel the sense which is given to life. So Icar should have never tried to go to the sun. His father warned her, so he fell to death. But all these myths could go on and on, so I tried just to finish up with a special myth in relation to what you heard before from Dr. Rosandich in relation to the sport and to Greece. And I tried to show Daphne, who got the name for this town, Daphne. So I'm trying to make it Daphne. that will be just all day present. And with this, I think I would say try to show, to look at nature, to try to find the characteristic of nature, but nature should be filled with your thoughts. Your thoughts should be filled with imagination, and by this I think art can be produced by everybody. This I want to tell you. Thank you.
That's European charm at its best, and with a great deal of skill. Let me tell you just a little bit about Daphne. Many people ask why we moved the Academy to Alabama, to the Eastern Shore. And we tell them really because of the city of Daphne. Daphne is from Greek mythology. Daphne, as Hans has drawn, is a very, very beautiful Greek goddess who was pursued by the god of sport, Apollo, through the forest because she tried to elude him and asked for help from her father, again mythology, who was a river, and stopped on the bank of the river, and to protect his daughter, she turned into a tree. Apollo, upon coming onto the tree, said that even though he had eluded her, that she would always be a part of his life, and decreed at that moment that the leaves of that tree would be used to honor the artists, the poets, the musicians, and indeed the great athletes. Obviously, the tree was the laurel tree, and it is the laurel wreath that is worn in the Olympic Games. So from mythology and from art and the mixing of the two, we are here in Daphne, and no one could have ever presented it better than Hans Erni did. Hans, as you can see in his artwork, this particular one here is from the Olympic Games, it's Yachty. Up in the gallery there are 31 pieces of his work. The originals hang in the International Olympic headquarters in Lausanne, Switzerland. They cover the 31 sports of winter and summer. In just a moment you will be invited to go up there and look at the art, and the art that is down the hall. And you will have a second opportunity to meet a very unique man, and I will introduce him at this time. He's not here physically that I can see. I don't think, is Blair here? Yeah. Blair Buswell is the next artist that you're going to meet. He is from Provo, Utah. He's an American, lives in the same kind of mountains that Hans lives in Switzerland. Just another part of the world. He was a great running back on very fine Brigham Young football teams. In fact, when he was a running back, the quarterbacks were McMahon of the Bears and Steve Young of the 49ers and Wilson. He is a sculptor. He is the man, by the way, just so you understand, that did the bust of Bear Bryant that was dedicated this past fall in Tuscaloosa when they opened the museum in honor of the legend of Alabama. And he does all the bronze now for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So you're going to have an opportunity to visit with this young man who works in another medium and to see in all of the art, like Hans has, the mythology that you find that is dominant in all of his painting. Okay, with that out of the way, it is now time to sing happy birthday for, oh, here's Blair, by the way. He still looks like he's a running back. We're going to send all these good people up to you in just a moment, Blair, okay? I need some help. Oh. special gift from Hans. When I visited him a couple of months ago in Switzerland, he told me, he says, you know, that Daphne is dear to anybody who has ever studied art in Europe. And of course, he go back to the basis of the history of Europe, the bull as he illustrated. But these are pieces that he has done and presented to the Academy on Daphne. We think we'll probably put this on a t-shirt or something. There are 3 of them. They're absolutely gorgeous. We should be giving him a birthday present, but it's the other way around. They're all workings of Daphne that he has sketched for us. So there's a uniqueness in a tie. It's really an interesting piece. Now, I'm the worst singer in the world. Who knows how to sing? Blair, come here. You're fine. I am not a singer.
I'm not either, but I can lead happy birthday. We do want to welcome you again to Daphne and to the Academy of Alabama. And in true Southern and American fashion, to wish you happy birthday. I know you can all sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hans. Happy birthday to you.
By the way, the lovely lady to his left is his wife, Doris. If you look very closely, you will find her in many of the paintings throughout the show that is upstairs. We're happy to have you here, Doris, also, okay? Thank you very much. If you leave now.
Blue. I used to mix the yellow and red together and make orange, and that was my skin color. You know, a cowboy riding a yellow horse with green mane. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the pieces I brought also as I'm going through this. When you do a sculpture, you have to have what's called an armature to start with. And that's what this piece of wood is called. If I was going to do a figure, I would have a pipe connected to a piece of wood. It goes, would come up and go over, and it would have a wire skeleton that would be connected about the waistband. So that wire, or that pipe, would support the sculpture while I'm working on it. So if I was doing this runner right here, it'd be supported. So when I'm working on the sculpture in the soft clay, I have something that's not going to fall over on me. And then when it's cast in bronze, the bronze itself will support it. Another thing that I knew when I was
While Blair keeps working on that, let me make a couple of announcements or give you some additional information. That very gigantic crew of people with cameras downstairs are among the very best from Hollywood. They are here to do a 1-hour special, a documentary on Hans Erni that will be featured on national television sometime during the coming year, which means all of you will be on national television sometime during the coming year. When we finish this show up here, we'd like to have you go back downstairs, if you would be so kind, and take the same sort of seats that you had before, because they want to do a closing shot that actually will be the finale of the show, of the film that they're doing in honor of Hans Erni. I've tried to convey to you that Hans is considered to be one of the finest artists of this century, and it's really a tribute to him that they're making this movie. As I said, the crew is flowing in here from Hollywood to make the film, so we need your help at the end of this show. The second announcement I have from Janet DeLoche, who is the director of the gallery, and she also directs the bookstore. Behind this whole wall here is our bookstore with many pieces of art and t-shirts and those kinds of things, and if you're interested in any of that, this bookstore is open. I think what we'll do is we'll go down and shoot the closing shot, and then I suspect there'll be some time left for you to wander around and look at the rest of the art. At the same time, I should tell you, and I would think very shortly, they were supposed to have a 1-hour symposium in the other room called The Changing Face of Sport Journalism. In the other room are some interesting people. Tom McMillan, Congressman Tom McMillan, 3-time All-American at the University of Maryland. 11 years in the NFL, in pro basketball, NBA, I'm sorry. All-Pro 5 times. He's easy to pick out. He'd have to duck his head to walk through this room. Big silver-haired man. But maybe more importantly than all of that, like the artist here who played football, he was a Rhodes Scholar and studied at Oxford economics. He's just a very bright person. Also in the other room is Jerry Kramer, of the very famous glory years of the Green Bay Packers. He would be the MC at the Academy Awards. He was all-pro every year he played football, as a matter of fact. A very special person during the Lombardi glory years of the Green Bay Packers. Also in there is Henry Freeman, the managing editor of USA Today. A bunch of those kinds of hits. Okay. That's over there. If it has a big nose, it's me. Does anybody have a question of Blair that you want to ask him while he's playing with his clay in church?
Why did you know so fast? I needed a workout today. This is oil-based clay. It never dries.
Do you do your own casting, the bronze?
I have a foundry that is about 20 minutes from my home. It takes, from the time I give them the finished clay, it takes them about 4 to 6 weeks to give me back a bronze each time. normally I'd spend a lot more time just doing the skull. Because same way with I don't want to put, there's some hard spots. If you feel your own face, you can feel where your bone is. There's a difference between right here and there. Okay, there's muscle. That's bone. And I don't want to be, when I get to the skull, I know there's little landmarks that I don't want to be touching. And that will add strength to the sculpture when it's all done. Here is you got to think of it as a shape first. That isn't an ear, okay? We'll just take a tool and they'll draw it on there. Now you think of the shape first. Kind of a wedge shape because it kind of goes out in different directions. You think of everything as an abstract shape. Then you can make it into an ear, a hand. It's got to work first before you start making it into anything. Got any questions about what I'm doing? What am I going to make my hair? You're worried about being bald. Well, I can put some hair on.
Can you see somebody in this room?
What kind of hair do you want?
White.
Few necklaces around here.
How long does it normally take to do a
This is the fast version. Usually it takes a couple of months.